Hi, everybody. This is Claire Fowler, and we are going to go ahead and begin the presentation in just about 1 minute. In the meantime, let me ask you that unless you're speaking, would you mind muting your audio? Just, there's always that background stuff, the barking dog, the car going by, etc. And I'd like to keep this to be, make sure that this is very easy for everyone to listen to and understand. That being said, if you do have a question, of course, please unmute yourself, chime in, and we also have a chat feature. So if that is more helpful for you, I'll send you a note here right now so you can see what that looks like and you can easily reply. Great. Okay, so I'll be getting started in just one moment. I can see that we have a couple people who have logged on but have not yet joined the audio, so I just want to give them a moment to do so. Thanks. Okay, it looks like we have everyone here. Wonderful. So as I mentioned a second ago, if you're just logging on, please mute your audio in case you're not speaking, and that will just keep the audio really clear for everyone else. But if you have a question, please feel free to chime in, and you can also send a question in the chat feature. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and my main plan here is to go over some of the brief features of Caseload Manager, and then I'll head out to a live demo. But it's kind of nice today because we're a smaller group. So as you have questions and you just want to know about how this is going to relate specifically to your office, then please jump in. Again, I think we're a small enough group that we could go ahead and do that and answer some specific questions. So that's great. Let's take advantage of it. All right. So number one, ta-da, this is Caseload Manager. It is a cloud-based case management system. And we're going to look at specifically how community mediation programs tend to use that. Just a couple of the basic features about it. What's nice about this program is that it is very reliable. It's available to you 24/7. It also, of course, has continuous backups and updates. So that's one of the big things that people are afraid of, understandably so, as you're moving into the cloud is, is my data safe? Is all of this information confidential? And to be honest, we looked quite a bit to find out what was the best option for securing this data. And we decided to go with a company called AWS. They're Amazon Web Service. And of course, if you're interested in this, I can send you a lot more detailed information, but the sum is AWS is what houses Amazon, Netflix, Reddit, all of the big companies, and they just simply have the best security and reliability out there. They have everything is encrypted, everything is backed up in multiple locations in multiple states. And so if there ever were to be a glitch or a hurricane or something that took out one set of data, then it could just easily switch to the next backup on a different server in a different state. So we like that. That made us feel secure. We knew that your data would be safe and confidential. So now that we know your data is safe and confidential in the cloud, what kind of data would you put up there? Well, again, what we were hoping for is to design a system that can do everything for your office from A to Z. Well, other than actually mediating a case for you. So my background is I worked in community mediation programs, and I worked a lot with Jim Malamed, who has worked in more private practice offices. And we also beta tested this with a few other types of offices. And then we all tried to pool our knowledge to say, what is everything that people need to start a case? We need there to be an initial intake activity. That might be a sliding fee scale. It might be a free consultation. It might be a phone conciliation. From there, we need to generate a calendar item so that we can have a follow-up activity. And you know what? I might want that to be automatic, I might want it to go out just to my staff. I might want it to be an email that's sent to participants or something that pops up on my calendar item. From there, things are going forward. I want to generate a case. I want to be able to track my time. Maybe it's so that I can bill them the correct amount of time, and I might want to divvy that up by a percentage or a sliding fee scale. Or I might just want to track the time because these are volunteers and I want to acknowledge the time that they're volunteering. So, and then of course, I want to be able to run reports on this program at the end. So that's what we have really been working to design here, is a system that just manages everything from A to Z. And of course, everything changes and the world is constantly in flux, which is great. That's what makes life so exciting. So as new ideas come in, it's wonderful. We just ask people to send us feedback and ideas, and that's what keeps our programmers very busy. Is we always try to we try to reflect the way that mediation companies are running their business. That being said, some people like things with all the bells and whistles. Some people like things very streamlined. So it's just simply you get in there and you know exactly what you're doing, and then you can get out. Fantastic. So if that's your type of program, then what you can do is go through this and just delete or hide every single field and option that doesn't apply to you. So we really did try to design this so that it can work for the part-time solo practitioner all the way up to a multi-panel mediation and arbitration multi-state office. Again, as people have any questions, please jump in. So here are the main hubs that we have in the program that you'll be looking at: cases, activity, calendar, email, and reports. And let me mention that email, it also does, it's a little bit more than that. So it's not just sending out emails, it's also creating documents and creating printable documents, which is really nice because some people use email, but sometimes we still have to actually print a document out and get people to sign it. So it's nice that the system can merge in whatever information you need, and then you can use that to generate a mediation agreement, confidentiality, invoice, whatever it is you need. All right. Oh, and let me also mention, one thing we really try to do at this company, and I've worked with some of you before, and so I hope that you can say this is true, is we really try to get to know our clients and help to design a system for them that is the best for their day-to-day operations, but also that will get them the data and annual reports that they need. So one of the very first things that I do when I begin working with a company is I ask them to send me what annual reports they can, so that we can design the system correctly in the very beginning to make sure they're putting in the right data to get the right information out at the very end. So we have pretty extensive phone support. You can always call and ask for one of us, but we try to also have a very helpful online system. We have a quick start tour, and that's for your interns or for your part-time volunteer mediators, and they don't really need to know all the bells and whistles. So they get a scaled down tour, and that reflects a typical intern or volunteer mediator access, right? They're probably not going to be exporting data or deleting cases, and you probably don't want them to see every participant's or staff member's information, but you can assign them limited access, and that's what the Quick Start Tour represents. From there, we have a very, very extensive help topics, and let's face it, sometimes this stuff is technical and it's difficult, and it's kind of hard to explain over the phone. So we've tried to create a lot of videos and step-by-step screenshots and tutorials walking you through how to do this. That being said, if any of it ever is confusing, you can always pick up the phone. One of us will be there to talk you through it, or we might just set up a quick screen share and help you work through whatever's going on. Oh, I missed one thing. Okay, recent updates. So as I mentioned, we try to have this program continually reflecting what you guys are doing. So if you're making changes in the way you run your business and Caseload Manager isn't reflecting that, let us know. We try to continually update the program so that it's reflecting current uses, current policies, and just to make sure it is as up to date and fast as possible. All right. These are some of the main things that people are using the program for. They are saving their case data. They need to save their contact and their staff information, and they want to make notes. Now, a quick little a note about notes. Typically, cases have multiple types of notes. There might be some confidential information that just the admin needs to know. There might be information that's shared between two co-mediators as they want to talk about strategies for how to best handle this case. And there might be additional billing notes. And so again, it's up to you how complex or how streamlined you want this program to be. You can have a multiple case note section that reflect different things that feed into different parts of the system and then give different people access to those notes. Or you might want to say, Claire, this is getting way too complicated. I want one case notes box, that's it. So again, it's up to you. You can add or delete as many fields as you like. Then of course, you'll have to have uploaded and downloaded documents. So it works a lot like Dropbox. You can upload files directly into the case, and then you can also have your clients upload files directly into the case. So that's nice. It kind of takes out you being the middleman. If people have, let's say they're getting a divorce and they have financial documents that you need to know about, then they can just upload those directly into their case file without ever having to deal with getting your personal email, emailing those to you, and then you have to download them, make sure they pass your virus and security stuff. And oftentimes those are difficult because those types of PDF are usually pretty cumbersome. And I don't know about you, but they often get snagged in my spam. So and you can just avoid all of that and let your clients just upload the documents they need directly. This also works great for version control, because if you let them tweak little parts of the agreement, then you can see who made what change on what date and make sure that you're working with the most recent copy. Okay, I'm spending too much time on that. I know you guys all know how to upload and update a document at this point. Other things, the main other things that people use it for are to schedule mediations. And that might be on their calendar, or they might be putting it on a staff calendar. Of course, you can also use this to reserve and book rooms. And then finally, all the day-to-day activities, you know, all the stuff that makes your office run, the phone calls, the emails, the payments, all that stuff. So we are just going to hop out to a live system. And let's go ahead. I'm just trying to peek at, I just saw a chat come in. No, we're good. Okay. Again, if anybody has any questions, please jump in and ask them. You can just ask them out loud or send me a chat, whatever works best for you. All right, so what we're looking at right now is a live version of Caseload Manager. I mentioned that there are 5 main hubs. See, we have calendar in the upper left, activities on the right. Going farther to the right, we have our reports list. What we're looking at now is kind of a standard set of reports. That being said, it's fairly simple to design your own report if you're not seeing exactly what you need here. So, gosh, I get these inquiries all the time where people say, Claire, I need to design, I need to know how many cases were filed in exactly this county that were mediated by volunteer mediators and that were exactly this case type. Fantastic. So then we'll typically set up a screen share and I'll remind them exactly how to do that. We'll just filter for those cases, select the fields they need, and then we will export those cases out to whatever they're using. They might want to just plunk the data into a Word document or put it into Excel so that they can manage the data a little bit more. So the summary is reports has a lot of great canned reports here, pie charts, crosstabs, all that fun stuff. But if you're looking for a really specific slice of the pie, then you probably just want to do that yourself. So we've given you the freedom to do that, and I am happy to walk people through that training whenever they're ready. I distracted myself again. So there are 5 main centers. We have calendar, activities, reports, then we have mail. We'll look at that in a second. And cases down here at the bottom. Whoops. Cases, of course, is where you'll be spending most of your time because that's where you plug in all of your data and that's where you're actually working with your cases. So I've given you the overview. Now, if there aren't any specific questions, I was going to show you how you start a typical case. So, of course, every office runs itself slightly differently, and you'll have to develop the workflow that's best for you and then reflect that in your fields. Some people have even changed the names of their fields to say things like field 1, fill this out, then field 2, then field 3. So it's just really clear as you get volunteers coming into your office that they know exactly what to do first and second and third. Like I said, whatever works for you. I have given every one of you a free trial system. So if you haven't already received that login information, you will shortly. And then you can just log in and play with it for yourself. You won't be able to break it. Just try adding cases, adding what fields you like, get rid of the fields you don't. You can add in staff. And you can work a real case with Caseload Manager just to see what questions you have. And then that's really the best way to find out if this is the right system or not for you. Anyway, so as I mentioned, this is what I typically do when I'm starting a case. And of course, you want to do your own thing, but this is what I do. I start here in the gray activity section, and I click Add Activity. And I typically receive cases by a phone call. So the activity type would be a phone call. As you have seen here, you can also assign prices to some of these activities, or if there are multiple people assigned to this activity or calendar item, then you can start to divvy up the price. So let's say you have a husband and wife coming in, and it's instead of being $200 an hour, maybe the wife is paying $150 and the husband's paying $50, or they're both on a sliding fee scale or something. So you can really divvy those up by percentages or amounts as well. Let me just say as a side note, billing has been one of the most complex issues because everybody really manages their money in their own unique way. So we have come up with so many features to try to reflect everybody's way that they do billing. That being said, if you have your own unique way that is not reflected here, let me know. I'm always interested to find out new things. Okay, so activity type. If I am initially opening a case, somebody has called me, so I'm going to click that this is a phone call. And let's say we're on the phone for about an hour. So I'll change that to say an hour. And then I want to click myself in staff. What's nice about that is then if anybody else is looking at these details and they have a question about it, they can see who did the initial intake. So they can track back to me and ask any follow-up questions. So action taken, I'll say conducted intake, notes, say it's a barking dog issue. Okay. Scrolling down here, let's say one of these people is an attorney that I've worked with before, so their name will already be on file, but then I'm also going to add in a new party. All of these fields can be completely redesigned. By the way, we've pre-populated it with some of the more common participant types and case types, etc. But of course, you can blow out whatever doesn't apply to you and add in all of your own new fields. Okay, so I'll say that this is a participant, and let's call this person, how am I blanking on the name right now? There we go, Amelia Pons. All right, so there's our lovely Amelia Pons. I probably want to grab her phone number so I can get a hold of her later. Okay. And now if I wanted to invoice her for this initial intake, I could do that here. Then I could choose, am I basing that off of this one activity or am I charging that per hour? That's up to you. Personally, I do free intake typically. Okay, so I've done my basic intake over on the left-hand side. And now I want to do a follow-up. So let's say tomorrow morning, I want to call participant 2. I want to call participant 2 and just make sure that they really do want to mediate. Okay, so I'm going to schedule that as a phone call. I'll put it on my calendar, so then it will, and I'm going to schedule this to give me a reminder because, you know, if the computer or my phone doesn't remind me to do something, then I will instantly forget. And I'm going to go ahead and book the conference room for that call. All right, follow-up notes. Let's say, want to make sure P2, oh, caps lock, that's fine, is ready to mediate. Okay, so scrolling down here, I just want to point out, we've got all these additional fields. Intake, housing classes, foreclosure docs, fees paid by, all these fun things. So a lot of these are custom fields that I have added to my system. You really get to decide for yourself, what fields do you want? You can add in whatever fields you like. You can rename them. You can get rid of them. So this really does become your system. Some of the basics, case types, party names, etc., we'll keep those, but everything else you really get to reorganize. Okay, now scrolling down here is this lovely green box, and this is one of my absolute favorite features. This says, do you want to send an email reminder? And I say, heck yeah, send me as many reminders as you can. I'm not going to have it go to a party at this point. If this were a mediation, then I probably would send it to parties. Something like, hey, make sure that we're showing up early to the meeting, bring all relevant documents, etc. But again, right now, this is just a reminder for me to give them a call. So I'm just going to send that reminder to me, and I'll go ahead and send that upon save. And this actually goes out like late afternoon, the day before the meeting. And now I have two choices here. So I've got save on the right-hand side, because, you know, sometimes people call and you just don't know, is this going to turn into a case or not? So you just want to archive it and keep track of that initial phone call and the person's information, especially if you're referring out to other resources, but you need to make notes of all of those referral and information sharings that you did. Okay, so then you'd want to save it, that you could keep that for your data. But in this instance, I know that this is going to turn into a new case. So I'm clicking the button on the left that says, ta-da, save and start new case. So this is letting me know what time zone I'm in, that it's going to send an email reminder, and it also added an activity and a case. Okay, so I hit close. We give the screen a second to refresh. And now what's wonderful is everybody who's logged in to this Caseload Manager can now see we have a new activity here at the top, okay? Then on my list of things for tomorrow, I have a new calendar item. And then finally, down here at the bottom, I have a new case. Okay. So, sorry, I missed a chat. Okay, so somebody's asking where that reminder was. So let's take a look at it. Now I'm in my actual case, and man, I've added a lot of fields to this. So I've added a ton of fields to the screen. When you first log in, remember I created Caseload managers for all of you and sent you login information. If you look at that and log in, you'll notice initially yours looks a lot different because again, I've added probably way too many fields here. So you were asking where the reminder was. So I'm going to show you over here on the right-hand side. I'll click on this calendar item. Now I want you to notice, this is the calendar item from the initial intake. There's that activity. There are the case notes up at the top. If I scroll down here, I've got my participants' information. So all of that information from the intake is flooded into this case, which is just fantastic, because let's face it, nowadays, who has time to copy and paste information? So you want all of that information to be grabbed from your intake and use it to populate your case. So I'm going to click on that calendar item. Scrolling down here, that's where that reminder is. So that green box is that the reminder, I'm sorry, that green box is letting me know that it has already sent me one reminder, and then it's going to send me another one right before the calendar item actually occurs. Okay. So, so I was going to walk you through the case, but first, how's everybody doing? Again, we've got a pretty small group, so if you have any specific questions about how this applies to your office, please just jump in. I would be happy to answer those for you. Going once, going twice?
None.
None. All right. So what we're looking at now is a case screen, and it's got all the basic stuff that you would expect. We have our own primary case ID, or you can create your own, or you can just go by case names. Again, you really can choose whatever information you want to track this case because it's whatever works best for you. Some people just want case names. Some people need to go by court docket numbers. It's really up to you. Okay. So, barking dog, Maple Pond case. So next it's asking me about work groups. Work groups are one of these fun bells and whistles that are available for groups. Some people can use them, some people just don't really like them. The way that a work group works is, let's say you've got a lot of different types of cases that your office manages. You do arbitration, you do construction, you do foreclosure, you do community. And all of these types of cases are quite different, right? Because with foreclosure, you have to ask a lot of questions about lending documents, are the people still living in their home, etc. Restorative justice, you need to ask very specific victim and offender questions. Community, you've got a ton of different questions there. And this screen, this case screen, it starts to get pretty muddled if you have all of those fields thrown into the same place. So instead, you can start to divide those into groups. What's nice about this is you can get the right fields showing up in the right case, right? So as soon as I say this is a foreclosure case, then these fields change. And now I'm only seeing fields that relate to foreclosure. But wait, there's more. I'm not just seeing foreclosure fields. When I scroll down here to my staff, now I would only be seeing staff that are qualified to do foreclosure cases, okay? So it's really nice because if you do have a larger office that handles a lot of different types of things and handles different cases and has people trained in different things, then the system can reflect that. And use of, okay, the quick answer is somebody's asking how are reports designed? Can they tally the number of instances for a particular case type, for instance? Can they give stats on participants? And the answer is yes. And I can show you in just a moment what that looks like. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of canned reports that it sounds like they can get you at exactly the data that you need, but if you're not seeing the exact report that you need, it really is simple to run your own report. So I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Before I leave the screen though, let me point out these guys. I have different surveys available. So this is another one of those add-on bells and whistles, like work groups. For some programs, they're incredibly helpful. They make sure you're looking at a streamlined screen that's relevant to what you need, and then you can grab the right data at the end. Again, for some people, it's an add-on distraction. Surveys are the same way. For some people, they really enjoy using this, kind of like SurveyMonkey. You get to design all of your own surveys, and then you can have those included and available in the case. You can have those automatically sent out to participants. For instance, you can send out an intake questionnaire or a 1 to 3 month follow-up survey and evaluation. Again, for some people, these are great. It's really helpful to have all of that information all integrated into one place. Or for some people, once you're done with a case, you just never want to talk to the people again. So you might not want to send them a survey, and that's up to you. Okay, so we've got our details on the right-hand side. Status. This is another one of those fields where you can generate the different status options that you need. And it's been fun working with different programs and watching how creative everybody has been with these. Some people have named these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. And they make sure that the case goes through every single status. And then as it moves from one status to another, it also moves to different people in the office, right? So an intern does the intake, status 1. And it's just fun. Other people alphabetize these. It's just, other people have just said, need money or money received. So, you really can do whatever you want here. I'm going to call this an active mediation. Now, if I'm waiting on anything, for instance, right now, I'm waiting to speak with second party to see if they want to mediate. I'm even going to spell that correctly. There we go. Okay, now coming down here, I can get a little bit more detailed. So here's where I can choose what case type it is. Now you notice we've got these numbers next to it. Again, you have a lot of different billing options, and this is one of them. Some people choose to bill according to their case type. So let's say this is a neighbor-to-neighbor session, and I'm looking at this, and already I can tell that this should not be a $3,000 case. So I'm going to override that, and I'm going to say that this should be more of a $50 per session case, okay? So you have a lot of flexibility here as you're going through it. If I had documents from them, I could upload those in this next section. As I need to schedule additional calendar items, I'll do that here. As I add activities, that will happen here. And then finally at the bottom, this gives me a running tally of time and money for the case. Some people are completely grant funded or court funded, which is fantastic. I'm assuming though that you still need to track your time. So if that's the case, this is where it will show you all of the different time that's been put into a case, and then you can also break that down even more to see what's volunteer time, in case that's helpful. Okay, so I'm going to update this case. We'll hop back into it, and I haven't forgotten your report question yet. If I do forget it, let me know. But I want to look at the email section first, and then we'll head over to the report. So now I'm back in my case. I've made a couple of changes, updated those changes, and now I want to send people an email. Let's say I've talked to my lovely Amy Pond, which one of you noticed the TARDIS reference, Doctor Who reference, thank you. So let's say that I've talked to both of them and they are 100% on board to mediate. We've scheduled our mediation time. So I'm going to send them a note. So I'll click email all. Email pops up. And so, okay, of course it does all the general email stuff. And I don't have to tell anybody at this point how to send an email, but I'll go over some basic features. I get to choose to whom this email is going. So I'll send this to all parties. If right now this is just limited to who's involved in case 3115. If this were to, if I weren't coming at this from a case file, then it would give me a lot more options. For instance, I could send this to all of my staff or all of my volunteers or every participant in the system from the last year, which is really nice if, for instance, you're scheduling a staff training or an office holiday party, or a thank you to all participants for letting them know that you have a new office address, for instance. So it's great having these groups that you can just immediately identify who needs this information. Okay, so I'm saying I want to send it to all parties. And then I could just say something simple like mediation scheduled and send them a note. But I've got a lot of features available in this email system that I want to take advantage of. So we'll say hello. And what I'm doing now is telling the system that it has to work. It's going to pop out to everybody's record that I'm sending this to. So all the parties in this case, it's going to pop out to their record, grab their first name and plunk it in where I'm telling it to in between these two tildes. Okay, tildes is like a, hey, caseload manager, wake up, have your coffee, get to work now. Over here, it's going to plug in their last name. I've got a lot of text substitution options here. And what's great is that this even reflects if I were to create a custom field. So I mentioned I'm doing foreclosure stuff. So one of the custom fields I created is lender requirements. So I could just plug in that text substitution, and then it's going to plug in the data from that field for me. So if I were to say, please remember to review your lender requirements, then it's just going to plug in whatever data I had already put in that field, okay? You can use this to send out things like, I don't know, automated calendar items, let them know of an upcoming mediation. And what's fun is if there are documents that you're already sending to parties, what you can do is just copy and paste those into the system and create a template, and then have these go out automatically. For instance, let's say that there's an invoice that you've created. So you just click edit and send, all right? Then it's going to plug that invoice in here. Right now this is set to go out to all parties. Okay, so this will tell them what billing method was used, right? Maybe it was $50 per hour, what the total is, who's paid. It will give a summary of all of our sessions, right? All of our times together, including any casework. So that could be phone calls, agreement writing, etc. Okay, so it will create a very detailed invoice. And then I could go ahead and click send down here at the bottom. I could preview it, I could add a document, I might want to print it, okay? I might need to actually snail mail this and make sure that everybody has received a copy. All right, so I could go ahead and create this template, merge in the necessary information, and send that out to people. But why would I do that when I could create an automatic email? So once I've done this background work of creating the invoice, creating the template, from now on, I'm just going to say, hey, Caseload Manager, from now on, every time I close a case, send the invoice out to all the parties. How fantastic is that? It's like they're little robots doing our bidding. So we create the invoice, and that's it. From then on, you can just know that Caseload Manager is sending out all of the relevant emails you need. That can be a confidentiality agreement. It could be a billing letter explaining how your office manages billing. It could be an evaluation afterwards. It could be your typical intake, confirming their information, whatever it is. You can tell Caseload Manager when you want it to send out all of these different emails, and just know that they're automatically going to the right people. I love it. I love things like this that save time and that get some pressure off of our plate. Okay, so unless there are any other questions, those are some of the main basic features of the email system. Again, everybody has their own way of doing business. So if you're looking at this and thinking, gosh, that's a little too much for me, or I need something slightly different, or it doesn't do this, just let us know. I'm just trying to show everybody the most standard stuff that I hear people using. But if you need something different, please let us know, and either we can show you where that's at, or we can work with you to get that in your system. Okay. So I think the next question was about reports. So I'm going to close out of our case. I'm back on the home screen. So now we'll look at some of these reports. We have all these beautiful ones. For instance, we can create a cross tab where we say, show me all of my cases, and I need to have links to those cases, and I need it to be cross-tabbed with what's the case status, right? And I hit go, and it shows me, here's everything I have, all of my case types broken down by case status. So that's fun. But what's even more fun is these are links. So in case I want to verify that data, I can click on it and then find out where that number came from. So that's an example of one report. Of course, we have pie charts because those are fun too. And we'll hit go. I'm going to move this around so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So just, another fun way to display data. The most common one, I think, of course, we also have import log, deadlines. We can do survey results, etc. All of our billables, that's a big one. One important thing to note about billables is Um, you'll notice that all of these reports are reflecting what fields you put in. So as you're looking at these, it might look slightly different than mine, and that's simply because you've put in different fields. So for instance, I say amount owing or I say balance due. Well, you can rename any of those fields or move them around, okay? And this is great. It just shows you a quick summary of what's the expected incoming and outgoing monies and billables for your office. I want to show you one more, mainly because this is the big one that community mediation centers use. So it's the service report, and most often I see people need to break that down by case status. But again, if there are any other fields that you have put in there, then you can use that to generate your report instead. So I'll click Get. So what we're looking at right now, again, you might need to tweak this a little bit for your office, but this seems to be what's useful for most mediation centers. So it's just telling us what cases have been opened, what cases were open, what have you actually been working on. Tell me about the referral sources. What case types do we have compared with where is it at? So for instance, right now I have one foster case that still needs a mediator. Okay. Yeah. So if you do need anything slightly different, though, I don't want to go over too many of the technical details right now, but it is ridiculously simple to just filter and create your own case. All right. So let's say you need a printout of, I don't know, all of the cases that were referred to you from legal aid. Great. So then you click on legal aid, you say set filter, okay? And then from there, you just click export, and then it will show you all of the cases that were referred from legal aid. You can even select what fields you want to show up in that report. Okay, maybe you just need the case ID, case name and status, and then maybe what the mediator's name is. Okay, so what I'm trying to show you here is it's very simple to get in there and design your own program. Right now, you all have seen pretty much all of the features that you need to get started. So mainly going forward, all that you would need to do would be to go through the settings menu. It usually takes about 45 minutes. You'd completely customize this. So think about, what are my referral sources? What are my case types, for instance? You might look at, I don't know, you might look at consultation and say, we would never ever do a consultation. Fine, then you can rename it. Whoops. You can rename it, or you can delete it. You can change the pay rate. Okay, so you update it to reflect what your office looks like, and that's it. That's all you really need to do to be set up and running. Like I said, this usually takes about 45 minutes for people to go through, and that's typically something that I kind of do hand in hand with clients. I ask them to take a first crack at it, and then I come in and we talk through it. We look at all of their desired end of year reports to make sure that they are they're getting the data that they need. So that's the main stuff that I wanted to go over with the program. As I mentioned, you all have your own system, and so you'll be getting that login information shortly. I've also sent you a couple of tutorials that will hopefully just go over some of the basics that we just talked about, like you click add activity if you want to add activity, click on mail if you need to create a document or send an email to people. Going forward, if you have any questions, I think I even put my information in here today. All right, if you have any questions, oh, this is another fun one that I absolutely have to mention before we leave. Okay, what we're looking at right now is a metadata program. So this is fun. We've actually gotten to do this with quite a few different states, Nebraska, Illinois, New York, Oregon. I'm trying to think of who else. I don't know. So all of their community mediation centers are now using Caseload Manager. So what's fun is you can look at the total. So what's the state total case volume, and then start to look at individual centers and think about, okay, how many cases are they doing? How many parenting plan cases are they doing? How many volunteer hours? How long does it take them to move a case from start to finish? So it's great because you can look at not only your cases, right? But if you begin to link up with other programs, then you can get statewide data. I'm not going to lie, this is something that really fascinates me, because then you think long term about how much legitimacy does this bring to the mediation field, right? You think about if the public were to know how many thousands of cases were mediated and how quickly and how cheaply, how cost effectively those cases could move through the system and people could get lasting and satisfying results, I think people would be blown away. So I love the idea of actually gathering some statewide and then eventually maybe even some national data. Okay, I'm done with my little pitch, I promise. So our goal here is to help you help your clients as much as possible. Okay, that didn't have my name on, or my email address. That's what I was looking for. Anyway, send me an email. I'm at claire@mediate.com. That's CLARE@mediate.com. And to show you my information, look at this. I'm going to click on the staff section because this is one more question that came in that I forgot to address. I'm sorry. As you're adding your staff, you really can give them as much or as little access to things as you want to. So I will show you right now how to add a staff member. Claire Fowler. I can be reached at claire@mediate.com. Ta-da, there I am. And then I can choose their access level from some of my presets, okay? But if you really want to change it, you have a lot of power in your hands. So for instance, you're creating a new access level, you might want them to be able to add and edit calendar items. Maybe they can edit their own cases, but nobody else's. Maybe you want them to add activities, but not see reports. So you really have an immense amount of power and control over what you want your volunteers, your interns, and your mediators to do, okay? So I hope that answered your question. Again, going forward, please send me an email as any questions come up. Please go ahead and try out you can add as many cases or as many staff as you want to your system. Yeah, and then if it's helpful, typically what I do is I'll have another follow-up conversation with you where we can talk about some things that are specific to your office, right? Exactly how your office runs and make sure that Caseload Manager can support that. And then if it seems interesting to you, I'll often set up a larger group training. So that might be for the board, maybe for all of your volunteers, and then they can ask all of the specific questions that they need to do their job. Everything goes forward and you decide to go with Caseload Manager, then we'll typically set up another couple follow-up trainings just to make sure that all of your data is inputted correctly. And then we'll do kind of a check-in a couple weeks down the road just to see what other questions have come up. So that's everything that I had planned to cover today. So what about all of you? Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask at this point?
Hi there. Are we unmuted?
I hear you, so I'm assuming
great.
You're unmuted.
I do too.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm in Los Angeles County, and unfortunately was not able to successfully log in to the webinar to view all of the work that you just showed us.
Okay.
So myself and a team member, we've just been listening in, and thank you so much. So I'm just wondering if there's any way we can visually see a demo at a later time or a PowerPoint or anything like that.
So two options. One, I would be happy to just call you whenever works for you guys, and we could set up a screen share so that I could walk through exactly your system and give you a personal demo. That being said, I recorded this and I'm going to plunk it onto YouTube. And so I'll send out a YouTube link probably sometime this afternoon. So if that's helpful, you can always watch that online, but, you know, might as well take time to, instead of watching the generic one, let's just give you a personal tour.
I feel blown away and very grateful. That would be wonderful if it's possible. I'm happy to send you an email offline and not take up other folks' time.
Perfect.
Do you mind just clarifying your email? I'll just jot that down right now.
Yeah, so I'll just send that to everybody. Okay, that's my email. Oh, geez, no, it isn't. I'm trying to hold the phone and type at the same time, and I'm not doing well. We'll try that again. Okay, Claire, that's CLARE @mediate.com.
Okay.
And Sunny, to answer your question, yeah, you can track donors, marketing, fundraisers, etc. Quite a few systems do that. So mainly you would come over here to edit, make and add a donor person type, and then you would come over here to activities and add whatever types of activities they need, you know, fundraising dinner or donation amount, whatever it is. So you just add the fields that you need, and then you can run a quick report to grab whatever information you need for that donation. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. That's something that I've helped a lot of people set up. So if you want to go that route, let me know, and we could probably just set aside like a 15-minute training, and I'd show you exactly how to do that. No problem. Hold on, we have another question coming in. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, let's see, do we have any other questions? Nope. Okay. If everybody doesn't receive their login information by the end of the day, it means either it went to spam or I don't have your correct email address. So if you are interested in that free trial, you should get that login information, you know, within the next few hours. If you don't get it, you can always just email me or call the office. We're at 541-345-1629, and I'll go ahead and send that information to you as well. 541-345-1629. That's my office number. So great. Thank you so much, everyone. And I hope everybody is staying safe and dry out there. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank
Claire,
you
you take the rest of the day off and tell Forrest if he complains, you did a great job.
Perfect. You got it.
Okay.
Gladly. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. I will. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Sure.